Good morning. With me here today, I have our great Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, Representative Laurel Libby of the Maine State House, Linnea Saltz of IWF Women's Sports Advocate, Stephanie Turner, a fencer, Zoe Hutchison, a Maine athlete, Cassidy Carlisle, a Maine athlete, and my dear friend, you all know, Riley Gaines, who has been a champion on this issue for women. Today, the Department of Justice is announcing a civil lawsuit against the Maine Department of Education. The state of Maine is discriminating against women by failing to protect women in women's sports. Pretty basic stuff. This is a violation of Title IX. The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports. This is about sports. This is also about these young women's personal safety. I've met many of these women throughout the past weeks and months, and what they have been through is horrific. We have exhausted every other remedy. We tried to get Maine to comply. We don't like standing up here and filing lawsuits. We want to get states to comply with us. That's what this is about. We have repeatedly notified Maine of its infractions and urged them to remedy the situation to protect women. We've stripped grants from Maine through other departments, and we are going to continue to fight for women. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you a timeline. This timeline, I think, is pretty important. So in February 2024, these are just a few examples. A biological boy started competing in women's ski races and cross-country races in Maine. He came in first in the 5K with a time that would have been 43rd among men. In February 2025, a biological boy won first place in the pole vaulting competition in Maine's indoor track and field meet. He beat every other girl by a significant margin. That qualified him for regional championships. That took a spot away from a young woman in women's sports. Shame on him. February 21st, 2025, President Trump has the governors at the White House. President Trump has the exchange with Janet Mills. He asked her about the issue. Her response, "We'll see you in court." Well, we still didn't sue. HHS and the Department of Ed opened investigations in an attempt to get them to comply. They both found violations. And in March, Maine refused to comply. I want to read you this letter. This is from the Maine Attorney General to the Department of Education. We will not sign the resolution agreement. We do not have revisions or a counterproposal. We agree we are at an impasse. Nothing in Title IX or its implementing regulations prohibits schools from allowing transgender girls and women to participate on girls and women's sports teams. Well, they must not be reading the same Title IX that we're reading. We believe they are failing to protect women, and it's not only an issue in sports, it is a public safety issue. These boys are allowed to go in women's restrooms. They are allowed to go in the women's dressing rooms and get fully naked and change in biological boys and change clothes in front of these young women. Maine's leadership has refused to comply at every turn. So now we have no other choice. We are taking them to court.
I am your host, Fearless Floyd. I just listened to that press conference live. I have a daughter. She wasn't really an athlete. She's more of a intellectual. However, had she participated in girls' sports, even on the high school or college level, and she had to compete against a man, uh, I don't know if I'd have the temerity to hold myself back if she was injured. Um, Only way I can explain this is these people who support this narrative of, going to El Salvador to rescue an El Salvadorian who's been declared a terrorist and is in the custody of the president of El Salvador, who support putting boys competing against girls. Those people are freaking mentally ill. Okay. They're mentally ill. They have no grasp on anything realistic in reality. If this is not a clarion call for every woman across the country of the United States of America to rise up and stand on your own 2 feet as a woman and go change your community and get rid of these mentally ill people, go run for office, go support people that are running for office. Okay. I'm not saying go become a Republican or become a conservative. I would be just dandied if you just remained an independent, because that way you're going to get both sides. And go change and go fight for women across this country. And I'm going to follow up with Linda McMahon. Let me get over to her. You're going to hear Pam Bondi talk about the same stuff. Whoops. All right, hang on. Let me share my screen for you guys. And believe me, my audience is not by any means, teenage or, 20-something-year-old women or men for that matter. Most of them are my age, okay, 40s, 50s, and 60s and above. But this is for all the women. So please share this video with them. And if this is a wake-up call, look, yes, I'm a man. I support you 100%. I don't have a problem with gay rights, whatever that looks like for those folks, okay? Because in my eyes, I haven't seen any real suppression against anybody who calls himself gay, and I'm not going to do all the alphabet to describe that, okay? Look, if you want to be a homosexual and you want to like the same whatever, that's your business. You're gay. Go be happy. Leave us out of it, okay? Don't try to drag us into your mental illness. That's not what we want. Please, women, please stand up for yourselves. Go run for office. Make change. Get, go lock these people up. Put them in a freaking psych ward where they belong. That's how I feel about this. I feel anybody who's supporting the Democratic narrative, the Democratic Party at this point in time, April 16th, 2025, you're mentally ill. You're just not paying attention. You're over there watching mainstream media, being brainwashed, and you're in a cult and you can't get out. You don't want to be shamed. Well, guess what? You're going to have to walk that walk of shame in front of everybody. You got to accept the fact you got. And now it's time to come out of that little old closet that you're in and deal with reality. This country, we don't want this shit. We're not going to take it. So this is for all the women out there. Stand up. Go run for office. Midterms are coming up.
I don't think our case could have been stated any better than it was just presented by our Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And I thank you very much for your participation this morning. And I will echo Attorney General's comments about how brave these women are, these young women. And of course, Riley Gaines has been a staunch advocate for the Title IX infractions, since she came on board. And we're so proud to have Riley out there as such a prominent spokesperson. So today we're announcing a weighty development in the Title IX investigation into the Maine Department of Education. The Department of Education, analyzed Maine's Education Department for compliance with Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, which prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or education program that receives federal funding. Unfortunately, our investigation has found that Maine continues to willfully violate Title IX and to strip the civil rights of female athletes in the state. And as Pam alluded as well, it's not just about their civil rights, it's about their safety. And we, after our investigation, we found we really had no other choice. We thought the infractions warranted turning them over to the Justice Department for their further investigation. So how do we get here? On February 5th, President Trump signed the executive order keeping men out of women's sports, which directed all states and educational programs receiving federal funds to cease the practice of allowing males to compete in sports programs for women. They didn't make this up. This is the law. This is Title IX. This executive order was aimed at protecting women like fencer Stephanie Turner or volleyball player Peyton McNabb from being injured and unfairly outmatched by male athletes. President Trump didn't pull any punches. He explicitly warned Maine and Governor Janet Mills that Maine would risk losing federal funding if it continued to allow males to participate in women's sports. Governor Mills chose to openly flout Title IX compliance, telling President Trump, and I'll repeat what the general said, "We'll see you in court," and obviously we are going to. That same day, our Office for Civil Rights opened an investigation into the Maine Department of Education and Maine School Administrative District number 51 for permitting males and girls sports and denying female-only intimate facilities. The department's investigation confirmed Maine's Title IX violations, and we offered Maine leaders multiple opportunities to change their policy and to protect women in sports, and they have refused. So now as the DOJ begins their enforcement actions, I hope Governor Mills will recognize that her political feud with the president will deprive the students in her state of much more than the right to fair sporting events. After all, compliance with federal civil rights law is a universal prerequisite for receiving federal funding. The Trump administration could not be any clearer to all states, sports leagues, and educational institutions. We take the violations of women's civil rights very seriously. I have 3 granddaughters, and I want to make sure that they are treated fairly and that they aren't exposed, in dressing rooms. We want to make sure that if you open women's sports or intimate facilities to males, you expose yourself to federal civil rights investigations. Governor Mills will definitely get her wish. We thank you all for being here this morning. Look forward to seeing you later.
And there you have it, folks. All right. There's a war against women in this country. There's so much divisiveness. It's insane. And it's caused by mental illness. And you're seeing what these insane people are doing over on the left. I mean, they're all about protest, disruption, riots, fires, civil disobedience. I mean, I can go on and on and on, death threats, assassination attempts. These people have lost their minds. And I was just having a discussion over in Telegram in another room, about people just making really idiotic decisions in their life. And I made the comment that, I don't know what the hell happened to everybody, but in the last 5 years, people got really dumb. And it wasn't, from that thing. Because I know people who didn't get that thing and they're dumb as a box of rocks now. I have a hard time finding people that I can actually have a conversation with before I start talking, right on through them, past them, and get that deer in the headlights glare. Huh? What are you saying? So, yeah, women, please fight back. You have a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a mom, a grandmother, a niece, a female cousin. Send them this video. Tell them, hey, it's time for you to pay attention to what the hell's going on, that your civil rights are being violated by your state, by your government. Your government wants to put boys in the locker room with you to watch you undress, watch you shower, watch you tinkle, watch you change your feminine hygiene products. Oh, like I said, I don't think I have the temerity. Thank you for watching. If you don't want to see the 6-minute promo coming up, please like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. I am the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. If you want to reach me, I'm mainly hanging out on Telegram. Need a class or a trust book, fearlessfloydshow.com. Come check me out. Have a nice day. Thank you for hanging around to watch this special promo on the new book by Ann LaFleur and Fearless Floyd, Specialty Trusts. We'll dive right in. There's the cover to the On Trust books. That's the first book that Ann wrote. This is the 3rd edition on revocable, irrevocable, foreign, charitable, remainder, express, college education, and land trusts. It has instructions, templates, examples, everything you need in this trust or in this book to run these 7 different trusts. Everything you need. Here's the table of contents. And please disregard the error bookmark, not defined, notices on the right hand of the screen. There is a lot of redundancy in this book simply because the simplicity of how it was adopted from the classes. So you're going to see, a trustee appointment letter in every one of the trusts when you just really need one and just change the information. Here we go. This is a specialty trust cover. And here are all the trusts that are available in this book. How to create and operate specialty trust, full instructions, templates, and examples to create and operate. A Q-tip, a qualified terminal interest property trust, qualified personal residence trust, irrevocable life insurance trust, third-party special needs trust, community property trust, asset protection trust, discretionary trust, ministry trust, decedent trust, charitable trust, special needs trust, perpetual family trust, testamentary discretionary trust, grantor retained annuity trust, irrevocable farm trust, pets trust, AB trust, and marital trust, as well as the bonus DNA trust addendum. Here is the table of contents. And again, please disregard the error bookmark at not defined. And here we go with the DNA trust. Wanted to show you guys a little bit of this. That's the first 3 pages right there. This is the bonus. You can add this to any one of the trusts. Doesn't matter whether it's a revocable, irrevocable, foreign, express, pets trust, same thing. If you'd like to get one of the books or a combination or a package, The ebooks are available for $249 each, and that's either the On Trust or Specialty Trust books. If you'd like a soft cover, they are $259. I do have package deals available at thefearlessfloydshow.com/store on my website. If you'd like to do an a la carte package deal that I don't have available and you want to put something together, hit me up, thefearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com. I mainly hang out over on Telegram, so come hit me up over there. These two books are probably the only books you will ever need if you ever want to operate in trust, and everybody should at least research it and see if it's right for you and your family. Thank you for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'll see you at the next show.